This week on Lexington Now, the Family Care Center turns 30 and we bring you some Halloween fun. Welcome to Lexington Now for the week of October 28, 2019. I'm your host, Neil Noah. Glad you've joined us. The Family Care Center hit a major milestone this past week as it celebrates 30 years of helping parents and young children. We were there for the celebration.
I'm Chris Ford, Commissioner of Social Services, and it's my privilege and honor to welcome everyone this morning to the Family Care Center for a very special occasion. We're very excited to see the great turnout that we have, and I think that illustrates and demonstrates for us how special a place that the Family Care Center is. This morning, you guys will hear a lot of what has brought us here over 30 years, but we also hope that this morning will allow an opportunity to introduce our services and programs for those in our community who have not just yet been able to be introduced to what we do at the Family Care Center.
This is such a special day in such a very special place. The Family Care Center, 30 years old and still going strong, still a trailblazer. The Family Care Center changes the lives of parents and young children. It's a comprehensive approach that teaches new parents everything from how to soothe a crying infant, that's a trick, right? How to do that, to how to achieve a high school diploma and how to become independent. I want to first congratulate Joanna Rhodes, the center director, and I want to mention the names of the center's leadership team: Irma Bennett, Karen Hacker, Vanna Armstrong, and Elena Howard. I also want to thank our partners, the University of Kentucky, Fayette County Public Schools, and numerous other partners who play a role in our city's service delivery, benefiting such an important population, our youngest children.
As director, I'm so grateful to be standing here today and working in a place I know has offered so much to families over 30 years. Our center's mission is to partner with and empower families with young children to achieve greater stability and resilience. We do this through offering 5 core services which are just as relevant today as they were in the early years: a high school program for teen parents, quality early child care, intensive case management, hands home visitation, and finally, pediatric health care. Our primary model of service delivery offers us the opportunity to get to know our families quite well. And I found myself inspired by the strength of them as many work to overcome enormous challenges. Challenges, unfortunately, that include things like poverty, trauma, domestic violence, addiction, and even homelessness. But I find that those families are so motivated by their love for children, and it inspires us here every day. We hope for many, many more years of success as we help families work to build a life they envision as best for themselves and their children. Thank you so much.
What is most extraordinary to me, you go back 30 years ago, 1989, and you think about the vision of a family care center. I would submit to you that that vision was ahead of its time in 1989, and present day, that vision is still ahead of its time. Why is that? Well, look at the research. We know when you have teenage unwed mothers, the educational attainment level of the children does not exceed the educational attainment level of the mother. So if our teenage mothers do not have a place to go, to get an education, to get a diploma, to move towards self-sufficiency, what does that mean for the child? It's that cycle of poverty. And the vision going back 30 years ago understood that, right? We used to have an old accountability system. Some of you may know the acronym NCLB. I'll tell you what that meant. No child left behind. But the family care vision is much bolder and stronger than that. It's no family is left behind. And sometimes the name says it all. Family Care Center. We care about the family.
28 days before my daughter was born, our life was turned upside down, and her dad passed away. And it was from addiction. And it's a really big problem, and people don't realize how it affects families every day. And at that point, I decided to join the HANDS program so that I had extra support. And our counselor, Megan, was amazing. I started the program before Luna was actually born. I actually had decided to start like a month before her dad had passed away, so I was actually already in the program. And then when all that happened, it was a really nice support structure to have somebody that's not part of your family, but in the community that can help you. And they really opened our eyes to so many different programs that were available to us.
There's no place I'd rather be than at the FCC, where they care about you, and they care about me. No matter where you go, you will always know you have a family here at the FCC. Here at the FCC.
Halloween is this week, and we thought we'd take an inside look into some of Lexington's spookiest stories and destinations, beginning with ghost hunter Patty Starr on a walk through downtown Lexington and the possibly haunted history behind some of our city's oldest and most storied buildings.
My name is Patty Starr, and I am a genuine certified ghost hunter, and I've been ghost hunting over 40 years. I've actually been fortunate enough to ghost hunt in 3 different countries and 26 different states in the United States. Now, that's not to impress you, but just to impress upon you the vast experience that I've had in collecting evidence that there's a possibility of ghosts and spirits. So hopefully tonight, on the wall, I've brought a few instruments, EMF meters and a recorder, and hopefully we'll be lucky enough to get some type of activity. We don't get it on every walk. I wish we did. But basically, with these instruments, we just might be able to communicate just a little bit deeper with the spirits while we're walking around. We are now standing on the steps of the Carnegie building. But at one time, this was actually the library. And what's really exciting is this was the very first library built west of the Alleghenies. It was actually built in 1905. And it was an operating library until about 1989, I think it was. One evening while I was doing my intro here at the Carnegie Center, right before the walk started, I kind of got some information to look up. Look at me, that type of thing. I did. I looked up. Over in the window in the corner, I could see this man looking back at me, and his mouth was moving as if he was talking to me, trying to give me information. That happens sometimes. That's an indication for me to pay attention. So I broke away from the intro, looked up at him, and I was listening. Couldn't hear a whole lot, but then I told the group that was on the ghost walk, I said, "You're not going to believe this, but there's a man in the window." So they all got up, and they looked, and they could see him. We were very excited, so we all started taking pictures, but I was the only one that actually captured his face. And that's kind of weird. People always ask, how come sometimes the spirits will only appear in one camera? And I think that's just a connection that they have with whoever has the camera. So I took his picture, and then I began to listen and think about the picture, and I got a name. So I went to the computer. It was later, it wasn't that day, but later I went to the computer, looked up the name, and I found his face, and it looked the same. I was really excited because I discovered that the man in the window used to come to the library almost every day to read his newspaper. And I'll tell you more of that story when we get to the Bodley Bullock house. We're going to continue our walk, but I did want to point out one thing. I'm going to ask you to pay very close attention to this. We're going to walk all the way down to the end of this walkway. Once we get to the end of the walkway, we're all going to cross over to the other side. There is a lady that haunts this place, and her name is Minnie. Minnie bought this place. Her and her husband, Waller, bought this place in 1914, and they lived here until 1970. So she was a very peculiar type of personality, and one of her quirks was that there would never be alcohol served in her house. Well, even her husband was not even allowed to partake. So her husband was an orthopedic surgeon. When Waller would get home in the afternoon, he would take his flask, unbeknownst to Minnie, fill it full of bourbon, wrap it in a newspaper, and then he would go over to the library. And he would say to her as he left, "I'm going to the library, Minnie. I'll be there for a while." And he would partake in his bourbon and read the newspaper. Okay, remember earlier when the fellow was speaking to me at the library window? At the time, I didn't know his name. He said his name. I looked it up, and that is Waller coming through. And I think he was saying, you know, for the last 2 years you've talked about Minnie, but you've never really talked about me. So now we can talk about him after we see his picture in the window, and then I looked it up on the internet and it matches. So now we're standing at the John Hunt Morgan house. John Hunt Morgan was the very first man-made millionaire here in Lexington and west of the Alleghenies. A lot of firsts for Lexington. Now, John Wesley Hunt was also a slave owner, and he bought a slave, a very young girl at the time. Her name was Bouvier James, and she was asked to be the nanny to the children, and she lived for a very long time. As a matter of fact, when she died, she'd be more like a great-great-grandmother, that type of thing. Now, when John Wesley Hunt would go to market, he would say to Ma'am Bet, was her name, and the little cousins that would come and visit called her Aunt Betty. And he would say to Ma'am Bet, "What would you like for me to bring back?" And a lot of times it would be a purse, or it would be a parasol, or a hat. But on this particular occasion, she said she wanted a pair of red shoes. And he brought her back a pair of red shoes. And it was noted that she wore those red shoes all the time. And I also learned later that when she was buried in the red shoes. And when we took a picture, we got the red, looks like the toe of a shoe. So we started checking to make sure that no one in the crowd had like a red jacket on or a red purse or anything red that got in the way of the film, and there wasn't. Okay?
We visit another allegedly haunted building after the break. Welcome back to Lexington Now. Lexington's Fire Station number 4, built in 1904, is the oldest in Lexington. But there may be more than meets the eye. Here's the story.
Station 4 is our oldest station. It was built in 1904.
It was actually, at this point in time, Jefferson Street, or this area of Jefferson Street, was kind of the western suburb of the city. So they added Station 4 to add fire protection to kind of the outskirts of town, which seems funny now. In 1945, Christmas Day of 1945, firefighter Henry McDonald was found dead upstairs, unfortunately.
And so he's just been, I guess, haunting the station ever since. And so through his legend, he's been kind of promoted to captain. So everybody calls him Captain now.
And that's sort of the genesis of the Phantom legend around here. I've been with the fire department for going on 24 years. I started in January of 1996.
I've been with the fire department for 15 years. Before I started, I really didn't have a belief in the supernatural. I never really thought about it.
You know, it really wasn't something that I paid any attention to. I would say I was probably pretty skeptical. So I spent 13 years here at Station 4. Coming into being assigned at the station, I'd heard a lot of the legends and myths about things and strange happenings that had been going on here. I wasn't really sure what to expect, and in my time here, I really only had one very strange occurrence. That was when I first got here. I was sitting in our day room. We had a big stack of papers. There was a cold breeze that came through the room with really no explanation, knocked all the papers off, and I kind of thought, what's going on here? And figured that was just Henry McDonald's way of welcoming me to the station, and never really had anything after that.
The only personal experience I've had here was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. We had a team of ghost hunters come out, and we were on duty, and they were using some special monitoring system to find if there was anything here. And they were in our TV room, and they set up and were in there for a couple hours, and when they came out, they said, this is the highest readings that we've ever had. And they played back their recording, and I guess it recorded a different frequency, and they were talking to the ghost. So when they played back the recording, they were saying, their question was, what's your name? And on the recording, it had in a creepy ghost voice, it said Henry McDonald. When they told me about that recording and I heard that recording, I think that night I slept with a sheet over my head.
Well, I'm certainly less skeptical than I was before. I think there are definitely things that we can't explain.
Well, I've been here so long that it doesn't affect me. You know, if it is haunted, I don't think, he's out to get me. So it doesn't make me nervous. But yeah, some people don't want to travel over here. It's fun. Yeah, we all take pride in it. We're called, it's called the Phantom. Our trucks, has the logo of a ghost, and we take pride in it. That's just who we are. That's our identity.
I spent 13 years assigned to this station. One of my favorite times of year was around Halloween, when we would kind of get the ghost tours, or we would get the people coming to do the stories on firefighter McDonald or the Phantom, because it really brings people into this station. It gives us an opportunity to talk about not only the Phantom, but also a little bit about what we do.
It's just our station's so close to the street. It's in a neighborhood, so we leave our bay door open. We're out all the time, so we build relationships with the community.
Being a neighborhood firehouse, we love talking to our neighbors. We love inviting people into the station and showing them what the Lexington Fire Department, what Station 4 in particular, is really all about.
The Kentucky Theater is hosting Halla Week, a week-long festival of classic and contemporary horror movies. Our own Brett Smith played horror movie trivia with the Kentucky's manager, Fred Mills.
Hey Neil, I'm next door at the historic Kentucky Theater, and I'm here with manager Fred Mills, and we're going to talk about Halla Week. So what movies are you showing this year, and how did you choose them?
Well, I guess we tagged October the 25th through the 31st as Halla Week, and it's a little bit different this year. We have 9 movies, beginning with, if you will, a trilogy with Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness.
Let's talk about how
of course, all of those starring Bruce Campbell. Some of the other films date back to 1974 with Black Christmas, and continue through 2019 with Midsummer. To mention a couple of the other films, we've got Bubba Hotep, Videodrome, and also in this mix we can't forget about Rocky Horror Picture Show. And our big weekend, Halloween Masquerade, is on Friday and Saturday, the 25th and 26th at midnight. And we've also added a 9:30 showing on Saturday for those folks that don't want to stay up too late.
Where can people go to get showtimes and more information?
Well, I think probably for these, the Kentucky Theater website, kentuckytheater.com, or we have schedules that are available at the front of the theater that you can stop by and pick one up.
Alrighty, so are you ready to play Halla Week movie trivia?
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm not too good at trivia, but and especially I don't see that many films, so.
I kind of only brought trivia questions. Do you want to give it a shot and see how it goes?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Alrighty, can we get a minute on the clock? Okay, in 3, 2, 1, go. In the movie Black Christmas, what is supposedly the name of the killer?
Billy?
Yes. In Videodrome, the singer of what band plays radio host Nikki Brand?
It's Blondie.
Yes. Also in Videodrome, what real-life figure is the character Professor Brian Oblivion based on?
Marshall McLuhan?
Yes. What actor married to actress PJ Soles at the time was offered the role of Bob in Halloween and passed?
Dennis Quaid.
Yes. Well, whose face is the iconic Michael Myers mask modeled after?
Which was William Shatner.
Yes. The director of Black Christmas went on to direct what other iconic Christmas movie?
Oh, A Christmas Story.
Yes. The writer and director of Midsommar said the plot of Midsommar was inspired by what event?
A Bad Breakup?
Yes. What was the original title of the movie Army of Darkness?
A Evil Dead.
Yes. What name did director Sam Raimi give to replacement actors with disguised appearances standing in for other actors in a movie?
Fake Shimps.
Yes. Marilyn. Time? Okay. I thought you said you weren't a big movie guy.
Well, really, I'm not. I try to pop in and see a little bit of each movie that we show weekly.
Okay, fair enough. Well, thanks for having us. And be sure to check out the Kentucky Theater's website for showtimes and more information on this year's Halla Week.
Another busy slate of Lex TV meeting coverage is ahead of us this week, and Chris Edwards is here with the details.
Thanks, Neil. We start this week's meeting schedule with Tuesday's Budget, Finance, and Economic Development Committee meeting beginning at 1 p.m. During this meeting, we'll get an update on the city's finances and the predictions for future revenues. Then at 3 p.m., we'll bring you the council's work session. The agenda is kind of light this week with only 4 new business items. Also on Tuesday at 5 p.m., we'll bring you a zone change public hearing for the property at 6600 Man-O-War Boulevard, changing the zone from a community center zone to an expansion area residential zone totaling 25.23 acres. Then the last meeting we have for this week is the Rural Land Management Board on Wednesday afternoon, beginning at 3:30 p.m. The Rural Land Management Board oversees Fayette County's Purchase of Development Rights program. That's it for this week. You can catch all these meetings live here on Lex TV or check them out on the web at lexingtonky.gov/LexTV. Neil, back to you.
That'll do it for this week, but as always, you can keep up with us on social media, check out the latest traffic updates on Twitter at LexRex, or catch our live traffic cams on lexingtonky.gov. For all of us at Lex TV, I'm Neil Noah, and that's it for now.